From starting Midlaner on one of the best teams in the world to creating his own successful esports organization, it's no doubt that Enrique, xPeke, Cedeño Martínez is regarded as one of the most influential League of Legends players of all time. Today, we'll be exploring the career of Europe's favorite Spanish superstar. xPeke's story begins all the way back in Season 1 of League of Legends, making him one of the only pro players from that era that are still talked about to this day. Initially playing as a top laner, xPeke was picked up by Fnatic in late 2011 after several impressive showings at local tournaments. Fnatic would go on to win the very first League of Legends World Championship, beating out the French team against all authority in the finals. Season 2 was a bit of a slow year for xPeke. After swapping to mid lane, he established himself as an incredibly consistent mid laner. Although his performance in the IGN Pro League tournaments was impressive, Fnatic started to choke by the end of the year. In the European Regional Finals, Fnatic would place 4th, failing to qualify for the Season 2 World Championship. Season 3 is where xPeke really started to shine as an individual player. Bouncing back after their disappointing performance at the Regional Finals, Fnatic would go on to win DreamHack Winter 2012, defeating CLG EU in the Grand Finals in a close 2-1 series. xPeke looked particularly impressive at the tournament, as his team coordination and individual mechanics were a cut above the rest. At the IPL Season 5 tournament in Las Vegas, which featured the best teams of the world at the time, xPeke would lead Fnatic all the way to a second-place finish, only losing to Team WE. xPeke's most famous moment from his early days on Fnatic came during IEM Katowice with his infamous backdoor on kassadin versus SK Gaming. This play immortalized him in League of Legends history and coined the term the xPeke. In the newly established LOL Championship Series, xPeke continued to be Fnatic's primary playmaker, showcasing his mechanical skills against the best European mids at the time. He would carry Fnatic to a first-place finish in the regular season with a dominating 22-6 record and won the first ever split of the EU LCS in a 3-2 victory over rivals Gambit Gaming. xPeke's success on Fnatic would continue for the remainder of Season 3, where they finished second in the regular season before regaining their form in the playoffs to win their second championship title. At World Season 3, Fnatic went 7-1 in their group, with xPeke outperforming other top mids such as Alex Ish, Dade, and ManCloud. In his quarterfinal match against the North American champions Cloud9, xPeke would once again prove to the world why EU was better than NA, styling on C9's mid laner Hai. Unfortunately for xPeke, his World Championship run would be cut short in the semifinals after a 1-3 loss to China's Royal Club. xPeke's success on Fnatic would continue into Season 4, where he remained as one of the best mid laners in Europe with standout performances on his Nidalee and Vladimir. Fnatic finished in second place during the regular season but turned it around in playoffs, beating out SK Gaming 3-1 in the Grand Finals, granting xPeke his third European title in a row. Due to his spring split victory, xPeke and Fnatic qualified for Paris All-Star 2014, where he would make it to the semifinals before losing to tournament favorites SK Telecom. Unfortunately for xPeke, Fnatic's summer split wasn't as dominant as he'd hoped for. Although his individual play was still top tier, the rest of his team fell short, and in the Summer Grand Finals, Fnatic would fall 1-3 to xPeke's longtime rival, Froggen. Fnatic still qualified for Worlds in 2014, and after being placed in the hardest group with OMG, LMQ, and Samsung Blue, Fnatic ended their Worlds run with a 2-4 game score. Even though his team lost in the group stage, xPeke still had some highlight moments that proved he was one of the best mid laners in the world. After the Season 4 World Championship, xPeke made the decision to leave the team that defined his career up to that point and created his own organization in early 2014. This new team, Origen, was made up of former Fnatic players and had some talented up-and-comers. With longtime teammate soaz in the top lane, amazing jungle and rookies Niels and Mithy in the bot lane, xPeke surrounded himself with a very solid roster heading into Season 5. After qualifying for the European Challenger Series, Origen would dominate the league, going 9-1 in the regular season and sweeping Copenhagen Wolves Academy in the finals, automatically qualifying them for the LCS Summer Split. xPeke had a particularly impressive performance on Zed during the finals match. After qualifying for the LCS, Origen's momentum would only continue as they consistently held a top 3 spot during the summer. With his impressive performance on champions like Vladimir and Varus, xPeke helped lead Origen to a second-place finish in the regular season, securing themselves a bye in the playoffs. After defeating H2K Gaming 3-1, xPeke would face his old team Fnatic in the summer playoffs, who had just completed Europe's first 18-0 perfect split. xPeke and Origen would go toe-to-toe with Fnatic in the finals, taking them all the way to 5 games before ultimately losing out to his former teammates. Still, xPeke showed he was still one of the best mid laners in Europe even after all those years of playing. xPeke's season wasn't over just yet, as Origen had clinched just enough championship points to qualify for the European Regional Finals, where they would have a chance to grab Europe's last seed for Worlds. After narrowly defeating Team Rocat 3-2, xPeke would sweep his final opponents, Unicorns of Love, in a convincing 3-0 fashion to become Europe's first team to qualify for Worlds after starting the year playing in the Challenger Series. At Worlds 2015, xPeke would surpass all expectations and put Origen on the map as a new European powerhouse. After Origen was drafted into Group D, alongside LGD Gaming, KT Rolster, and Team Solo Mid, fans and analysts alike expected them to battle it out for 3rd or 4th place alongside TSM. Instead, Origen surprised everyone when they went undefeated in the first week of groups, beating out China's #1 team and Korea's 3rd place team. Ending the group with a 4-2 record, Origen would be drawn to face Taiwan's Flash Wolves in the quarterfinals. Origen was once again the underdogs against the Flash Wolves, who ended first in their group and were nicknamed the Korean Killers. But we know better than to count xPeke and Origen out, as they defeated the Flash Wolves 3-1 in a clinic of a series. Unfortunately for xPeke, Origen's Cinderella story would end in the semi-finals, as they faced Faker's SK Telecom T1, who was undefeated in the tournament up to this point. Although xPeke was well respected by both Faker and EasyHoon, he would inevitably lose 0-3 to Faker in the semi-finals. Worlds 2015 was the perfect send-off for xPeke. He had spent 5 years as a professional gamer, not only winning the first ever World Championship but also cementing himself as a staple European mid laner during his time on Fnatic. xPeke would step down as the starting mid laner for Origen by the start of 2016, signing UOL's former mid laner Power of Evil. But xPeke's story doesn't end there. In 2016, season started off on a high note for Origen, as they won IEM San Jose with the new starting mid laner. In 2016 Spring Split, however, Origen wasn't as dominant as they had been previously, ending the season in 5th place with an 11-7 record. xPeke had largely stepped off to the sidelines, letting Power of Evil play 15 out of 18 of their games. In the playoffs, however, Origen would turn up the heat, beating out Unicorns of Love and H2A Gaming before losing to the new European powerhouse G2 eSports in their second finals loss in a row. In an unfortunate series of events, Origen would lose their star bot lane to G2 eSports, signing Forgiven and Hybrid for the start of the summer season. In an even more unfortunate series of events, their ADC Forgiven would leave the team after just 3 weeks of play, citing Origen's poor performance as the reason for his departure. xPeke was forced to step up as the starting AD carry, a position he had never played professionally before. Let's just say xPeke's performance left a lot to be desired. In the spring of 2017, xPeke had a similar conundrum as he was forced to swap to support after a disappointing start to the season. xPeke was unable to turn the tides in Origen's favor, as they were eliminated from the EULCS prior to the start of the summer season. This would be the last time we ever got to see xPeke on the LCS lineup, as he officially retired from pro gaming and took on more of a managerial role in Origen. xPeke would continue to be actively involved with Origen, and even after they were purchased and rebranded to Astralis, xPeke remained a shareholder within the team. xPeke's innovative playstyle and success as both a player and owner make him a true legend in the League of Legends community. From his incredible plays on Fnatic to his creation and success with Origen, xPeke's story is one that will always be remembered in the history of LOL eSports.